on, everybody? My name is David Arriaga, the unit director here at the West Contra Costa Salesian Boys and Girls Club.
And I'm Andre Williams. I'm the athletic director of the Salesian Boys and Girls Club, as well as the founder of the San Paulo Cowboys Youth Association and president for San Paulo Boys Baseball. And we have a very special guest today that we're going to bring. He's former Oakland A's great Mike Norris. In 1980 to 81, he was a runner-up for the Cy Young Award winner, and that's one of the most prestigious awards in Major League Baseball for a pitcher. And Mike grew up in some rough times. In the late 70s, early 80s, being a black pitcher was pretty tough, and he made it all the way to the top. He was considered one of the best pitchers in baseball at that time. Yeah, and I hope you like our story.
I would love to know a little bit about you and, who you are as Mike Norris and how you became to be in the major leagues.
Okay, well, of course, I'm Mike Norris, former pitcher for the Oakland A's, spent 10 major league seasons, all with the Oakland A's. I took a lot of pride in that. I was formerly in high school at Balboa High School is where I graduated from. I recently made the Prep High School Hall of Fame for San Francisco, and I thought that was quite an accomplishment and achievement for me.
Yes.
Then I went on to go to City College of San Francisco because the contract that the Oakland A's offered me was not to my liking monetarily. And so it just so happened it was baseball season. I graduated in February, and then I played there until May and signed my contract and went out to professional baseball, where I endured the A-ball season there, and went 8-3 in my first minor league season. And then went to Double-A, and then ran into a little arm problems, and I wound up 7-6. And then the next year, Charles O'Finley had a contract dispute with the great Catfish Hunter and lost that. And so Catfish was able to become a free agent. And so with that loss, instead of Mr. Finley going out and getting another caliber of pitchers such as Catfish, he invited 12 of his top pitching prospects in the minor leagues, and we came to spring training to fight for that one job. And yours truly got it.
Wow. Hey, that's
crazy.
Yes, Mike, that's accomplishments within itself. And upon getting the job, because you later said, you kind of had some arm problems. How was that, and how did you overcome that?
Well, in the minor leagues, it's not what everybody thinks it is. Like, the fields aren't that great, the lighting isn't great. And on the pitching mounds, if the pitcher had dug a hole where he landed, then you would step in that hole. And the guy that I was pitching against was like 6'6", so his hole was further up. So I was catching the back of his hole. And I got down in that hole too far, and I kept trying to throw that fastball and pull out my whole latissimus dorsi muscle in my back. And so that was really painful, and that took me out of having a pretty good season, because I got started out pretty good. I was about 6-2, and then with that, we had a terrible manager, and he kept running us out there hurt or it didn't matter to him, and so I wound up 7-6. So, but I had 103 strikeouts and 109 innings, so I was able to still throw pretty good, but just we didn't have that great of a team, to be honest.
Okay.
And so they knew that I had good stuff from A-ball and then Double-A, so that's how I got the invitation, because most of the pitchers that were there were from Triple-A that got invited to the camp. So I was the only Double-A pitcher that got invited to the camp.
What would you say one of the things as far as baseball players now, would you say the biggest difference from the league back then to now when it comes to professional baseball players?
Professional in the sense of minor league and major league, or major league?
Major league.
Major.
Well, the difference is the game has changed immensely. The days of the base running, such as Ricky Henderson, and the complete games such as we did, we made a major league record of 115 complete games in a season, the staff of 5. I had, Rick Langford led us with 29 complete games, and 29 of them in a row. He completed his last 29 starts. I had 23 complete games out of 33 starts. And so it went on down the line. Matt Keogh had 16, and McCaddy had 11, and Kingman had 6 or something of that nature. Also now, without the base running and the hit and runs and the stealing, now you have the long ball is coming to a place now, and they have this thing called launch angle. So these guys are uppercutting their swing now instead of hitting down on the ball like they did when I played. Now they're swinging up on the ball and then driving it up and out of the ballparks now. So
And
that's the big difference. Plus the 100-mile-an-hour pitches now. Okay,
Yeah.
so they're not throwing necessarily at spots, but the velocity is good enough where they don't have to be finding hit spots. So I think they said, let me see, there's 23 pitchers now in Major League Baseball that throw over 100 miles an hour.
So what was your fastest recorded pitch?
I don't know. Back then we didn't have the guns that they have now. We had the guns like the Highway Patrol had. Okay. And now they have different type of guns. I forget the name of them. But anyway, in Texas Stadium, they had a gun, and it would be 4 miles slower than what your real speed would be. So one night on the scoreboard, I kept going 88, 88. And I never could pitch faster than 88. And Doc Medich was the opposing pitcher, and he was throwing 90. So he must have been throwing 94, and I must have been throwing 92. Wow. So, yeah. But I tell you, before I hurt my elbow, I easily was throwing 95 or better. They compared my fastball to Vita Blues, so I was throwing pretty hard.
What would you say as far as the young man that has a dream of playing Major League Baseball? What would be your advice? What would you give that? What would you tell that young man?
Well, first of all, I would emphasize going to school and having good grades. The purpose of that is if you get drafted out of high school and you don't have any ambition to go to college, then you might have lost $1 million on a contract. If you let them know that you are interested in going to college, that could give you $1 million more. So that's the difference right there. So I suggest going to college, because then you can easily get a college education. When you get done with college, you'll go straight to AA baseball instead of rookie ball and A ball. So you're halfway there when you get out of college. Also, just staying out of trouble. That's the main thing. Okay, the incarceration rate for the young black men today is very high. They say 1 out of 3 African Americans will be incarcerated. The influence in the neighborhoods is really tough. So you must be strong enough and have enough character to understand to prioritize with school and being around good people.
So I know one of the things that you have going is the Mike Norris Academy. And I'm assuming that how you said is going to school and making sure that academically that you are doing your part. How does the Mike Norris Academy help into that area?
Well, it's not only is it academia, but it's a health and wellness program as well. Okay, so we have everything from social emotional, which deals with the racial injustice that's going on today, and then how they cope with things day to day in life. Then we have a charm and etiquette school, so that when their presentation is good, when maybe a scout takes them out to dinner, they'll know what that fork goes to and this spoon goes to and that's what this knife is used. And those little things the people pick up on. So your etiquette has to be great at the same time. There's a Black history class. So learning African-American history, where you came from. Malcolm X said, if you don't know where you came from, you won't know where you're going. So this is very true. So to have an identity and not be ashamed of where you came from due to the slavery, which has oppressed us for 400 years. And now these youth of the day are really, really standing up right now and able to make a change. And I see right now that all my 65 years, I've never seen the change that's going thus far, so far.
Just being on the road as a professional baseball player, how was that with the family?
Well, I was fortunate enough not to have a family at the time. I didn't have children. But for those that did, it was really, really a sacrifice that they had to make, because in the minor leagues, you don't make any money. Well, not any money, but you don't make very much money. And so when you're trying to feed 2 kids and a wife on a $500 a month salary, it just is very difficult. So the sacrifice is extreme. So just take Claudio Washington, who just passed, was my roommate in A-ball and AA. And what he would do would went and bought a pot, a nice big pot, and then go buy a couple of boxes of cereal. And that would be breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and go out and play on that.
That's crazy.
So, and then if you get to the ballpark and you're hungry, you give the little bad boy a baseball, and he'll go get you a couple of hot dogs and a soda. And that was the way you ate. So it wasn't anything nutritional that you ate. And this is what makes the minor league so tough, because of the travel and the travel. Like, and when you get to Double A, we had bus rides from Birmingham, Alabama down to Orlando, Florida, which consisted of a 21-hour trip. So immediately after the game was over, you got right on the bus, you stopped at McDonald's, and then you kept going. And then you get off the bus an hour before the game and play. So it was extremely tough. So the minor leagues isn't what it's all made out to be, which is what I try to emphasize. These kids get a college education, because that minor leagues is not for everybody. It's a very difficult thing. So have something to fall back on.
Yeah, because you see nowadays the amount of effort they put into health and fitness is incredible.
Yes.
So
that's a great addition these kids
that
have.
100-mile-an-hour fastball. If you guys would have had that back in your day, who
Exactly.
knows?
Exactly. The nutrition and the fitness that they go through is 100% better than what we had, as I just mentioned. And I tell you what, you can still give a kid in the major leagues. You can still give a kid a baseball, and you still go get your hot dog and stuff. You know, so it hasn't changed much.
So, Mike, if you would have a player today that you would choose, what would be your favorite player of today? Who would that be?
I like Mookie Betts. He seems to be a very all-around athlete. He has 5 tools, basically. He throws well, he runs well, he hits for average, he hits for power, and he feels well. So I'd say Mookie Betts is a player that I really like to stand up. And you know, maybe I'm a little biased, but, you know, the kids these days, they're not 5-2 players, they're not even 4-2 players. They're 3-2 players, you know what I'm saying? So they don't have the whole spectrum of what they're doing. Not many, everybody has 5 or 4-2s, but it's just really emphasis on just hitting the ball. And if you can hit the ball out of the ballpark, you got a job. And so that means you're probably going to hit 250, because you're either hitting a home run or you're striking out. Okay. And so that's the way I look at that. So, you know, a guy that can hit 300 and hit 30 home runs, that's a heck of a ball player.
If you had a kind of a memorable story that you just kind of go back to all the time, what would that story be? You know, that you just tell everybody.
Wow, that's a tough one. I got a funny one. I had a pitching coach who was from the South, bless his heart. He and Billy Martin aren't living anymore. But Billy was really, really, really animate about base on balls. He couldn't stand walks. So if you were walking people, you could hear bats and kicking stuff in the dugout, and oh man, he'd just lose his mind. So one day I had walked 2 batters in a row and got 2-0 on the 3rd batter. And the next thing you know, I hear timeout. And so the pitching coach comes out, and he had this deep Southern accent. And I asked him, I said, all right, what am I doing wrong? And I'm going down the mound, seeing where my footprints land, and if I'm pulling off or not, or coming across my body, what have you. And I said, Ward, what in the hell am I doing wrong? He said, well, goddamn, buddy, I don't know, but I'm going to tell you one thing, you're pissing Billy off. Oh, man. And that one always sticks out of my mind right there. That's one of my favorite stories of baseball. I don't know. I think probably one of the greatest compliments I got, I pitched a 14-inning game against the Baltimore Orioles. And Frank Robinson was the 3rd base coach at the time, who was one of my idols growing up. Mm-hmm. And after the 12th inning, he sees me come back out there again, and he looks at me, and he's really staring at me like in admiration. And he had a nickname. It was called Hard Frank. He didn't show much emotion or happiness or anything. You know, he was just one of those. He was just so great that if he didn't recognize greatness, he didn't have anything to say to you much. And then the 13th inning comes out, and he sees me come out again. And he actually went like this in the 3rd base coach. And I mean, Earl Weaver was the manager then, and I think that was against his whole principles, but he gave me those props like that. And I thought that was the greatest compliment I could have ever gotten right there.
Yeah, Frank Robinson, Bay Area kid, huh?
Born and raised in Oakland, California, right here.
Oh man, that's
Went to
something.
McClymonds High School.
Mm,
Yeah, and I mean, it just seems like nowadays too, and just even back then, the amount of talent just in the Bay Area
yeah,
alone is incredible.
But I
yeah,
have a problem with that. It probably, I don't think the baseball talent is half as what it was when I was coming up. Uh, no. And the scouts now, they don't go into the neighborhoods and to the ghettos and to the ballparks and watch guys. I think they go online and find out statistically what everybody's doing. And so the immensity of this is why you don't see many black kids playing baseball, because they don't go out and scout them. And so uh, you really have to be really, really good. And I can't tell you who's been drafted or who's been drafted over the last 3 years from the Bay Area. I don't know. Maybe you might know, Coach, but a black ball player that's been drafted, I don't know a boy.
yeah. It's pretty.
It's hard.
It's pretty rough treads now. Uh, just with today's game, and from what I gathered from the information I did gather from us talking, is I didn't know that they at every major league team had a form system in the Dominican Republic.
Every major league
I
team
didn't
has a yeah
know
has a baseball academy.
a baseball academy,
Wow.
Yes, so that consists of
and none
feeding that.
in the ghettos of America.
So that's the problem I have with Major League Baseball. Okay, and I'll go as far as to say the greatest ball players are African American baseball players, African Americans that play baseball, and I have proof of that. I mean, the mazes and the Aarons. You look at all the great statistics, the home run leaders, Cy Young awards, Rookie of the Years. There's always been a black involved in that. So I mean, look at the Black Aces, the group I've belonged to, man. You got Ferguson Jenkins in there, and you had Bob Gibson and Dwight Gooden and Vida Blue. So what can you say, man? It's inevitable that the black ball player has excelled in the game of baseball immensely. And to see the lack of blacks and African Americans playing baseball today is just totally disparaging to me.
When you look at places such as Richmond, Oakland, and a lot of other inner cities, you see the decline of baseball in those areas. What would you think the main cause is?
Well, they're playing basketball and football now, and so the talent, from what I've seen and what I've been told, you go have a baseball team. These kids have the ability. They're in high school. They're playing varsity, but they should be junior varsity playing kids. So that's the level of talent right now. It's just not much, not much. So which is why my academy that I'm having, I have ex-major leaguers and great coaches around, such as Coach, that know the game of baseball and teach these guys the fundamentals, because the black ball player at age opposed to the white ball player, physically and talent-wise, up until they get 13 years old, they're better than a white ball player. But then when they get to high school level, then the white ball player becomes better because they learn the fundamentals of the game. And see, if you don't know the fundamentals of the game, I don't care nothing unless you're exceptionally talented, that game is going to catch up to you, the game of baseball.
Now, what's your thoughts on the COVID-19 pandemic and how it postponed a lot of the major sports? What in your time? What have you ever seen anything this like this to occur?
Not to this degree. I mean, we had a strike 3 or 4 times. I think one year in '94 was it that the World Series was canceled.
Uh-huh.
But you had a season. I can go back to the season that I played in 1981. The A's, we were leading the league in the standings, and then I think maybe around, let me see, April, May. So I say around June, we go on strike. Now, there hadn't been a strike that lasted more than 15 days at the time. We were out 60 days, okay? So when we came back, they had to fraction the season off, and then whoever won the first half played the winner of the second half, okay, to see who was in first, who would win the division. And so I thought the season was over, and I let myself get out of shape. I was 8-3 at the All-Star break, on my way to winning another 20-game season. This is 1981. When at the end of the season, I wound up 12-9 from being out of shape. So that hurt me tremendously. So that's the closest thing that I could tell you that's close enough to say what this pandemic is doing to the game, to all our sports. And then even more so, look at our children. They lost out on the whole summer this year playing ball, who really needed to prosper and grow in the game. So this has been tough. I've never seen anything like this in my life, let alone just sports. This is just the deaths and things, and the death toll is just ridiculous, and it might reach 200,000 before the year's over with. So, this is just terrible. It's really bad.
Wow.
So do you believe, or do you think they should start the season this year? Or do you think they should postpone it?
No, because what's going to happen is, see, what is it going to take for somebody to die, and then they shut the thing down? Because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so, luckily these guys are young, and it doesn't affect the younger people as much as it does an older person, say my age, 65 and older. But at the same time, there are some people dying of this at a young age. So you never know. But I mean, who wants to even have this disease or this virus? It's just, to be quarantined for 2 weeks away from your family and loved ones, and then the worst thing, you can give it to someone else. And I don't see how that's going to work on a baseball field when you have a baseball and everybody's going to be touching the baseball. If it's hit the shortstop, he throws it to first base, then it goes around the horn and back to the pitcher. Pitcher spitting on the ball in his hands and stuff, and rubbing the ball up. I just don't see how it's going to work.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes,
the umpires touch the ball.
Everybody's everybody's touching the ball.
It's just like that, huh?
Yeah, so I don't see how it's going to work really. Just to play catch with somebody, there it is right there.
Yeah.
Not even getting on the field, just before the game starts, you go out and warm up and stuff, and boom, you're playing catch, and there's two people touching the ball.
Yeah.
So somebody's going to have it. I mean, I think they're trying to do this bubble thing where everybody's in one spot, and then they went as far as say that they'll have some kind of ring they put on their finger that'll let them know when they go off outside of the bubble and stuff. And so, that's pretty extreme. I love golf, and one of the golfers the other day, he caught it, and wow. So luckily 2 other people that was in his group didn't catch it, but it's almost like having it's like Russian roulette. It's just, damned if you do and damned if you don't.
So Mike, I have another question I want to ask you. How did it feel when you being drafted to the Oakland A's, and the success that the Oakland A's had when you got drafted? Was they, if I'm not mistaken, they had won 3 straight world championships, right?
That's correct.
I mean, how did it feel just coming out the Bay Area, just a young kid striving to be a great man? How did that feel, Mike?
The greatest feeling of my young life at the time. Nothing can top that. And even right now today, there's not much to top that actual feeling right there. You go home. I actually cut school that day. I went home about 1 o'clock because they call you at about 3:30 or 4 o'clock to let you know.
Uh-huh.
And I went home with the anticipation. I knew I was going to get drafted, but I just didn't know with whom. And I didn't know when. I heard that I'd be in the first round. And the teams that I thought were going to pick me passed me up. And I really wanted to go to the Giants because I'm born and raised in San Francisco.
Uh-huh.
And they passed me up, and they went all the way. I went all the way to the 24th pick in the first round, which was the last pick. The team that wins the World Series has the last pick, which was the Oakland A's. So I went with them, and so that being across the bay and them being world champions, I thought, hey, that's great. But not really thinking that, well, they got the best pitching staff in the world, so I'm probably going to be in the minor leagues a while. But that break that, like I explained to you earlier about Catfish leaving, that was my break. Or otherwise, I would have probably had to go stick because those guys that were in AAA, some of them were there 3 to 4 years, and that was, that was before Mr. Finley figured out how to trade people and stuff like he would do, and go and get money for, like, give up three minor leaguers and get him a real good ball player. And so this is basically what the Oakland A's have been doing for the last 10 to 15 years. Uh, so it's kind of sad now, the situation that they're in. Now they have a team full of great kids, and they were relying on this new ballpark to be able to bring the income in to be able to pay these kids. And now, without being able to get the ballpark, now these kids, they're going to have to revert back to the same thing, letting those kids go free agent, and without letting them go free agent, trading them, and then get 3 minor leaguers, a couple, 3 AA kids, and then let that guy go. And so,
Wow,
that's going to be tough again. So that's pretty much what the A's. This is the situation of the game right now.
okay. Your presence when I was a young man, your presence, you as being a community guy, you've always, to me, been a community guy. You always would stand. I remember this one time. You guys was playing the Yankees. Goose Gotcha had came out, and I asked for his autograph, and he kind of shied me away. And then you came out the tunnel, and you looked at me, right? And because I say that's because I was in awe, because Mike Norris was one of my favorite players, because I just used to like the Jerry curl coming out, and just the way you look, because my number was 17.
Oh my God!
You tap my head. I never will forget it.
Oh.
You tapped my head and you gave me a card.
Oh.
I had a card right now to today.
God.
I forgot to get it from my grandma's house.
Oh, bless your heart, man.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Being from the ghetto and the projects over in San Francisco, there was a lot of humility that humbles you. Okay. And back in that day, you had the Black Panther Party and stuff, and the militancy and being Black was something really that you wanted to be. And I remember this happened at Candlestick Park. My mother was crazy about Juan Marichal. So we were out waiting for him to come out the clubhouse, just like you mentioned, okay? And Orlando Cepeda had came out before Juan did. And this man was just huge at the time. That's why they call him the baby bull. And so I'm trying to get his autograph, and he was trying to go through it and stuff, because there's millions of people seem like out there, kids. And he actually knocked me down and actually stepped on me and kept going. And I laugh about it with it today. But, and I got up and dusted myself out. My mom said, "You're okay?" And I said, "Yeah, but when I get to the big leagues, I'm going to sign everybody's autograph."
Wow.
That's crazy.
So that's what you got from me that day. And I would actually, on Saturdays and Sundays, I would stay out there until everybody left and sign everybody's autograph. Reggie Jackson, I learned this from Reggie Jackson. He would come out and just get mobbed, right? And I happened to be coming out of the tunnel. I was one of Reggie's favorites. God bless him. He kind of took care of me my first year too. And so he had a contract with Puma, the shoe company. And he's got these 4 boxes of shoes. And he gives me 2 of them, and he says, "Now I want you to go out first with the shoes. And then I'm going to go the other way because you're going to deflect the attention from me." And all of a sudden I go out and the kids see me with these boxes and stuff. And then the next thing I know, I don't even see Reggie. And I got stuck out there for almost 30 minutes. And I said, you know what? That was a lesson to be learned right there. So, so autograph signing is, and it's a privilege. It's, some people take it for granted. Oh, they're big headed and they're all this and that. And they might be in a sense, but then you're really nothing if you don't have a humane aspect about life. And so, to make somebody happy or make a child happy, what's better than that?
Early in your career, you fight through arm problems and some personal problems as you fought through. And how was that like, Mike, being in that era where Ronald Reagan was the president then, and then, he had this great war on drugs or whatnot. And what was your bout as far as you being one of the ones who stood up and made it out from that era?
Well, I tell you, it was the most horrific period of my life right now, and I paid a heavy price for doing the drugs. and which was specifically cocaine. Cocaine was a epidemic, basically. I mean, it was running rapid through Major League Baseball. So I'm not going to just make an excuse that most everybody was doing it. My mom used to say, if everybody goes jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, are you going to go jump off the Golden Gate Bridge too? So I can't justify it because everybody was doing it. But I got caught up in it. And what happened was Peter Uberoff was the commissioner of baseball that year. After him seeing Ronald Reagan win the presidency without being a politician, the lights went off in his head. So that's what he wanted to do. So he wanted to combat the war on drugs. And so Major League Baseball hired him to do that. The next thing you know, the FBI is coming to everybody's spring training camp, and they're letting everybody know that we're out to get certain people. They went as far as to say, and one of them is going to be a real big black figure that's a pitcher. Now, there were only 3 black pitchers at the time that were really significant and what I'd say great, which was Ferguson, Jenkins, Vida Blue, and myself, and Rudy May. I'd be darned if when they came down on everybody, Vida Blue had to go to prison for 90 days at Leavenworth. I got caught up and I got pulled over one night by the police, and I was put some cocaine on me, okay? And so I'm out fighting with the police in the middle of the street and on the freeway there on 580, okay? And they finally get me incarcerated and get me in the car, and I go to jail, but I got out of it because the cocaine was a bogus rap on me. But what I had to do for Major League Baseball to go to a drug clinic, which is very humiliating. If anybody has to go to a drug clinic, which is why I have all these experience to tell these kids what not to do. That's one place you don't want to do. You have to go there 30 days. And that's not guaranteed. There's no way if you got an addiction that you're going to get cured in 30 days. It's almost improbable, okay? But anyway, I had enough strength to do that. And it caused me to get blackballed from baseball. When my contract was up in 1985, I went down to the Dominican Republic, and the general manager of the A's, I won't say any names at the time, came down all the way to the Dominican Republic to offer me a AAA contract. Now here I am, 2 years being removed from being the best pitcher in baseball, basically, a Cy Young Award runner-up. And I looked at him like he had lost his mind. So I told him, no, I'm not signing that. He looked at me, and that look he gave me was like, you don't know you just screwed up your career. That was the look he on his face. And do you know I was blackballed from baseball for 4 years, Brian? I wound up having to go all the way down to A-ball, down to San Jose to play for an independent team. I went and didn't get picked up. Steve Howe was down there, but Steve Howe, the Toronto Blue Jays came down to get him, but he was missing for 3 days doing drugs, okay? So that kind of put a damper on everybody. So the next year, I go back there again, and they won't let me play. And contractually, it said that I was making a mockery out of baseball, and this was in the contract, okay? So I got nowhere to go play baseball other than Mexico. Mexico is the lowest form of professional baseball that you could play. But I had no other choice. Even the Japanese didn't want me to come over to Japan. I might even went over there, okay? That would have been a little far-fetched, but okay, that was an option. So I chose to go to Mexico. A whole season, I had to play 2 seasons down there. And then I got this gastronomical thing that they call a Montezuma's disease, Montezuma's revenge, okay? And for 3 days, you go through a period of vomiting and diarrhea. And I'm telling you, the second night, you ask God to just take you. I mean, it's that bad. And you wind up not even being able to make it back to your bed. You just lay on the bathroom floor and sleep all night till the next day. So after the 3rd day, I had enough, and I went into the office the next day, and I said, hey, I'm done. I mean, I was just fed up anyway, you know, with not being able to get back to the big leagues. And it just looked like this was just a sign for me to just quit. And I got home, and 2 weeks later, I realized, you just quit. And me not being a quitter, that really hit me. And I said, well, you know what? You have to swallow your pride. Call that man up that came, the general manager came down to Dominican, and call him back and ask him for a job. I did that, and he said, you know what? I see you paid dues, and the scouts say you're still throwing the ball pretty good, so we're going to give you another shot. Well, I went back, so I go to spring training, and little did I know I had to take a deposition. That was not told to me prior to going invited to camp. And the definition was Lloyd's of London versus the Oakland A's. Lloyd's of London said the reason why I was out of baseball because of drugs and alcohol. And the Oakland A's argument was that I was out of baseball because of arm trouble. So me having to be smart enough to know, okay, let me testify that I had the arm trouble. So I signed for $100,000, the minimum, okay? And I had to start off in AA. I went down to AA, only lasted one start down there. I threw a shutout over 6 innings. And then Jeff Newman, who was my catcher at the time, was the manager there. And he comes up to me and he goes, you're going to AAA. So I get to AAA in the first game there, I throw a 2-hit shutout. Then I had what you call a dead arm because in my mind, 9 innings is what I did, but I pitched too many innings and I got a dead arm. I wound up 6-6 down there. But I pitched good enough to I thought where I get called up on a 40-man roster. I didn't get called up on a 40-man roster because I had to stay down in the minor leagues all day, all year, and pass all the drug tests and alcohol tests. I'd get waking up at 12 o'clock at night, come in my room and have to take an alcohol test and drug tests. So that's the kind of stuff that I had to do. That's what I had to pay the price for doing those drugs. So like I said, it was horrific. And I mean, I don't wish that on anybody to have to go through that, but it was a lesson well taken. And so that made it very easy for me to stop doing drugs because you have to realize it wasn't me that I was just hurting. It was my family. I have a younger sister and a mother having to go drive all the way down to San Diego to drug clinics and stuff like that. And just, it's the embarrassment of it. How's your son doing? Oh, why did he do this? And then I have to answer the same question, man, why did you do it? It just was crazy to where you didn't even want to leave the house. You don't even want to answer your phone. So the degradation was just immense. So that's what stopped me from doing the drugs, man. Really, I had to learn the lesson.
Wow, Mike, that's a very intriguing story. And, don't too many people let you get into their personal lives like that. And, man, we just want to thank you, man, for sharing that with us. We know, man, there's so many young people now that really needs to hear this story. It really needs to feed off this story because this story is a story of what's going on right now. What I'm fighting is me being a little league coach. I'm seeing a decline of our kids playing the game of baseball. It's like sometimes I might have 3-4 kids that really wants to play, but due to the financial burden, they just can't. So with your program, the Mike Norris Academy, I'm proud to say I'm a member of it. I'm starting to see a lot of improvement as far as the youth pro program, and as far as the kids coming forward to playing, because those at-risk youths, with us joining team with the Boys and Girls Club, that David and I, we went and got jerseys. So now jerseys and hats. So now the kids don't have to pay for their uniforms.
Oh,
so
great.
now they can just come and pay $25 for a membership fee and pay. When you got some leagues out here charging $700, $150 a month for just being on the team, and half of them is not playing.
Exactly. Well, what about the travel ball teams? I mean, you're talking $1,500 to $2,000, so it's ridiculous. So this is why I have the academy, and I'm praying that, well, it's going to work. We're going to get funding and that the kids won't even have to pay. At the most, we might charge them $50 so that they can get the books and stuff, the material, the educational material and stuff. That's all I'll charge for, and that'll be a minimum thing. The classes, right quick, I'm going to get the classes here. So you'll see exactly what I'm offering the kids. A STEM class. Okay, that's the science, technology, engineering, and math. And this will be in all public schools within the next 2 to 5 years. Because the subject these kids are taking now, other than math and English, is redundant. it doesn't do anything for their careers. Okay. So the STEM, you can learn about science. Silicon Valley has brought this about, that the change in the world is what it is. It's technology now. Okay. Uh, so the other one is mental health. There's a lot of kids that have mental health issues, but you just call them crazy. Okay, well, they're a little altered, but that doesn't mean they can't learn. So I have a guy that has a class that if you have dyslexia and any other learning disabilities, he can teach that. Okay, because he was a dyslexic kid himself. Then we have restorative justice. Okay, that's keeping kids from going to jail, and which with an absolute great mentoring program. We have men, Alamo Brown.
Yes.
Okay, Alamo is going to be as the head mentor, and he just has immense knowledge, and he's been doing this over the last 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have teenage domestic violence. Okay. That teaches him how to not beat on women, not how to abuse women, but treat girls with respect so that they won't have these emotional problems and stuff with the fear of a black man. Okay. It has to be some unity there. And it's just a productive program. It really is. Then we have performing arts. Okay. So that's anywhere from plays to music to art.
Hip hop.
So, right. Hip hop, Jalen Rose made one hell of a statement one day. He says, the white community loves our culture and our entertainment aspects, but we're not a part of the corporate structure. So we have to fit in as well with the music and singing and dancing and playing sports. It has to be about being in corporate. Okay. And then Alamo Brown has the community soulful softball Sundays. It's one of the greatest aspects that I've ever seen. So what he has is that he's gotten in Richmond. They had the triangle there.
Mm-hmm. Iron Triangle.
Iron Triangle. So all 3 sides of that triangle has gangs or had gangs. And when we started in 2017, there was 139 murders in Richmond, gang related. The next year, we got these guys to come out and put their guns down and come out and pick up some baseball bats and balls and gloves and come out and play softball on Sundays.
Yes.
Now, before the game start, they have prayer. Then there's food out there. No drugs and alcohol on the premises. So it's a family situation, atmosphere out there. And when the guys stop playing, their children go out on the field and start playing. I mean, just loving it, okay? Those are our future little leaguers. Then what we have is 3 generations of a family out there. You have the ball player, you have their children, and grandmom comes out. So that's how safe and wonderful that environment is out there, man. So that's something that I would like to have bring it over here to Oakland, San Pablo, and other various communities. And we get a good league going around here, man. You know how great that would be? We had the Bloods and Crips come up last year and played, okay? And we played them. The winner of that was the champion. Then the winner of that gets to go play against the inmates of San Quentin. We've done that 2 years.
Yes.
So these guys go back into prison. Most of them have been to prison, but then they go back, and that's a refresher course knowing that this ain't where I want to be. Because when you go on the outside looking in, and you look at it a whole different way than being inside. So these are the things that we offer these kids, and then we're going to have some online classes as well. Because again, it's a technology. We get them some headsets because everybody's walking around with the headsets, but now they can get their education through the phone now. Everybody's got a cell phone.
Wow.
So we have to make accommodations for these kids and adjust to what's going on with the technology in the new world today. And we're going to bring all that to your program because you have an immense amount of kids running through there yearly. And those are kids that we could save. If we save half of them, and I don't go for if you just save one, you didn't know. We're going to save hundreds.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to be able to do.
Well, Michael, this was a very interesting podcast, man. We just thank you so much because you was our first guest. This is our first time doing it, and
Oh, great.
we're honored to
I'm
have you. And we
I'm
just
honored. I'm honored. And it's a blessing from God. And I want to give credit to God because he has brought us together like this. And it's just an amazing concept that what he's able to do.
hey, I hope you guys really enjoyed our video.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching it. I hope you really enjoyed it. Please make sure you guys like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more upcoming videos. Hope to see you guys soon.